Breathe less. That is the transmission. Everything that follows is the proof. You have been told your entire life to breathe deeply. Fill your lungs. Take a full breath. Oxygenate. It sounds correct. It feels correct. And for most of the men watching this, it is silently accelerating cellular aging. Not metaphor, biology. The mechanism is called the Bohr Effect. It was documented in 1904. It describes the precise relationship between carbon dioxide in your blood and your hemoglobin's willingness to release oxygen to your tissues. The breath masters of the ancient world built entire systems around it, before the vocabulary to name it existed. Not hypothetically, measurably. What you were about to receive is a 7-day recalibration protocol derived from both ancient pranayama lineages and Soviet clinical research, anchored in peer-reviewed data. The question it answers is this: what if the habit you believe is keeping you healthy is the primary mechanism of your premature decline? Mechanism. Here is what is happening inside your body right now. Your red blood cells carry hemoglobin. Hemoglobin has one job: pick up oxygen in the lungs, carry it through the bloodstream, and release it to the tissues that need it. The release is the critical step, and the release is governed by CO2. When CO2 partial pressure is sufficient, hemoglobin opens and delivers its oxygen payload. Your mitochondria receive it. Cellular energy production occurs. Repair happens. When CO2 drops, as it does with chronic overbreathing, hemoglobin tightens. It holds oxygen. Your blood moves through your body fully loaded, and your cells receive less than they require. Your pulse oximeter reads 99%. Your tissues are in deficit. Think of it this way: a delivery driver who arrives at every address but never unloads the truck. The packages are present. Nothing gets delivered. That is chronic overbreathing at the cellular level. A landmark study confirmed the oxygen-CO2 binding relationship with precision, showing how CO2 partial pressure regulates hemoglobin affinity across physiological ranges. This is not contested science. This is foundational physiology ignored in public health messaging for decades. Men who chronically overbreathe run their cellular machinery at reduced oxygen throughput. Over years, this impairs mitochondrial function, degrades tissue repair, and compounds oxidative stress. The habit most associated with health, deep breathing, frequent sighing, mouth breathing during rest, is a metabolic liability. Ancient validation. The ancient practitioners did not have peer review. They had centuries of observation. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika instructs that the breath should be refined and diminished, not expanded. That phrase has been translated as poetry for 100 years by people who did not understand it was protocol. It is an engineering instruction. Reduce breathing volume, accumulate CO2 tolerance, recalibrate the hemoglobin response. These were not mystics guessing. They were observers who identified a biological law and encoded it in a form that survived millennia. In the 1960s, Soviet physician Konstantin Buteyko reached the same conclusion through clinical observation. His patients, many with respiratory disease and accelerated aging markers, shared one characteristic: they breathed too much. He developed a protocol of reduced breathing volume. His results were suppressed by the medical establishment and significant enough to survive anyway. A peer-reviewed investigation confirmed measurable improvements in respiratory function through reduced breathing volume alone. No medication, no supplementation, reduced volume. Ancient yogic lineages and a Soviet clinician working independently arrived at identical conclusions separated by 2,000 years. When that convergence occurs, the mechanism is real. You may have been told that breath retention is dangerous. The warning targets duration and context, not the mechanism itself. Prolonged oxygen deprivation is dangerous. Controlled brief CO2 accumulation is a training stimulus. These are not the same thing. When you hold your breath for 2 or 3 seconds at the end of a natural exhale, you are not depriving your brain of oxygen. You are allowing CO2 to rise slightly, signaling hemoglobin to loosen its grip. You are training CO2 tolerance. And raising that threshold is associated with measurable improvements in respiratory efficiency and longevity markers. A 2012 study identified reduced breathing rate and improved CO2 tolerance as correlates of extended health span in the populations studied. This is indexed data. You are not doing something dangerous. You are doing something the ancient practitioners engineered, the clinical researchers validated, and the data supports. Proceed. Protocol. Before day 1, measure your control pause. After a relaxed, natural exhale, pinch your nose and time the seconds until your first genuine urge to breathe. Write that number down. It is your baseline. Day 1. Observation only. Do not change your breathing today. Notice when you breathe through your mouth, when you sigh, when you take a breath larger than the moment requires. Place your hand on your sternum during rest and observe the rhythm without altering it. You are a scientist establishing baseline data. The intervention begins tomorrow. Day 2. Nasal breathing only. All day, including during light movement. Nasal passages create resistance. Resistance slows airflow. Slower airflow allows CO2 to accumulate slightly longer before each exhale. This is not discomfort to overcome. It is physiology operating as designed. By evening, most men notice a calmer rhythm has emerged without deliberate effort. Day 3. Reduced volume practice. Twice daily for 10 minutes each session. Breathe slightly less than your body demands. Not dramatically less, just enough to create mild air hunger. That sensation is the training signal. It confirms CO2 is rising toward recalibration threshold. Breathe through the nose, sit upright, and let the urge to breathe deeply exist without immediately obeying it. You are expanding tolerance. Day 4. Short breath holds at the end of a relaxed exhale. After breathing out naturally, hold for 2 to 3 seconds before inhaling. Repeat for 5 to 8 cycles, twice daily. During those seconds, CO2 continues accumulating in the bloodstream. Hemoglobin receives the chemical signal to loosen. Oxygen transfer to surrounding tissue increases. You are practicing the Bohr Effect deliberately, as a physical event occurring inside your circulatory system in real time. Day 5. Samavriti, adapted for CO2 training. Equal counts. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. The holds are the mechanism. Watch your hands during this practice. As CO2 tolerance improves and vasodilation occurs, peripheral blood flow increases. Your hands will become noticeably warmer. Your face will soften around the jaw. Warm hands are the vasodilation signal, confirmation that CO2 is being managed correctly, that hemoglobin is releasing oxygen to peripheral tissues. This warmth is biological confirmation. This is the body doing exactly what the ancient masters engineered it to do. Day 6. Rest. No new technique today. Consolidation is the protocol. Over 5 days, your chemoreceptors have begun recalibrating CO2 sensitivity. At the cellular level, mitochondrial efficiency is adjusting to improved oxygen throughput. Pay attention to how you woke this morning. Was nasal breathing clearer? Did sleep feel more complete? Is there a steadiness in your energy that was absent on day 1? These are biological markers of adaptation, not placebo. Measurable physiological shifts encoded in your morning state. Day 7. Remeasure your control pause using the identical method from day 1. Most men completing this protocol report an increase of 5 to 15 seconds. That range reflects real CO2 tolerance recalibration. If you began below 20 seconds and now measure above 30, you have shifted a clinically significant threshold. Project forward. 30 days at this trajectory moves most men into the functional optimal range above 40 seconds. At 60 seconds, you are operating in the territory the ancient practitioners documented as the threshold of mastery. That number is reachable. It requires only continuation. The Vedic breath masters of the Hatha lineages and the clinical practitioners trained under Buteko's method spent lifetimes mapping the biology you have just been handed in 10 minutes. You, having completed this protocol, now operate at the same biological threshold they trained generations to reach. The CO2 recalibration that governs how your hemoglobin releases oxygen, how your mitochondria receive it, and how rapidly your cells age. Begin tonight. Measure your control pause before you sleep, and let the number tell you exactly where you are starting from. If this transmission belongs in front of another man who is ready for it, send it to him. Subscribe to Codex of Reality for what the mainstream has not decoded yet.